Hello, welcome to the biology lab. My name's Aaron Jones and I'm going to be your lab instructor. In today's lab we're going to be looking at the digestive system. More importantly, the entry to the digestive system. We'll be talking about salivary glands and the effects that enzymes that they produce have on food that we eat. Okay, let's do the procedure for part B. You can follow along in your lab manuals. We're going to look at the activity of salivary amylase, the enzyme found in our saliva. So we have our test tubes ready here. We got test tubes 1 to 4. And we're going to add the following to test tubes 1 to 4. Tube 1, we're going to add 5 ml of starch solution. And our starch solution is a cloudy solution. And to that, we're going to add 3 drops of iodine. Iodine starts off as a yellow-brown solution. When we add 3 drops to our starch, we'll add a little bit more just to get a good result. And we can see the starch changes from a cloudy solution to a blue-black color. And that blue-black color in the presence of iodine indicates that starch is present. You can fill out your table as you go. So we had our slightly cloudy starch solution, and that goes in column 3. Column 4, the color with the indicator added would be blue-black. Okay, we're not going to heat this test tube, and then we'll go through the results after we've done all the procedures. We got test tube 2 now, and that calls for 5 milliliters of starch solution. Again, a cloudy solution. We're going to add 5 mils of Benedict solution. Benedict solution is a light blue color. When added to the starch solution, there's no change. It requires heat in order for us to get an indicator. We're going to heat that in the hot water bath now for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, just follow me here. We'll put it in the hot water bath. That should be ready to go once we're done. Tube 3, we got 5 mils of maltose solution. Maltose solution is a clear solution. Maltose being a simple sugar. And to that, we're going to add 5 mils of Benedict solution. The light blue solution. No reaction yet, that requires heat. We're going to also place that in the hot water bath. Test tube 4 calls for 5 mils of maltose solution, our clear simple sugar solution, and it wants 3 drops of iodine in that. We're going to add the light brown iodine solution to it. And we notice there's no color change. That means there's no starch present. So once again, to repeat, blue-black in the presence of iodine, starch, remaining light yellow-brown in the presence of iodine, there's no starch. What's happening here? Oh, look, we're getting some color changes. Test tube 2. No color change, therefore no simple sugars in that. Test tube 3, we see a brownish orange color. Okay, that indicates the presence of simple sugars. And that was the test tube. Test tube 3 was the one with the maltose in it, so we know it has a simple sugar in there. Test tube 2 had starch, and starch is not a simple sugar. It's a long chain carbohydrate, and it will not react with Benedicts. Okay, we're looking at the results of test tubes 1 to 4. Okay, the starch iodine solution. Was there starch digestion in this? No, there was no starch digestion because starch is still present, and there was no salivary amylase added. Test tube number 2, Was there starch digestion in this? No, there was no starch digestion. It remained light blue, and there was no salivary amylase present in that. Was there starch digestion in 3? No, there was no starch digestion. There's no starch present in that. And in 4, was there starch digestion? No, there was no starch digestion. There was no starch present to begin with. Okay, for the second part of the procedure, we're going to look at test tubes 5 to 8, and we're going to look at the effect that salivary amylase has on starch, to see if it breaks down the starch into simple sugars. So we got our 4 test tubes, labeled 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're going to complete our table as we go. The first column you're going to fill in is the initial color of the solution, which is in bold. So in number 5, starch and amylase is in bold, so we'll look at the initial color of that. So the starch and the amylase mixed together forms a cloudy solution. In 6, starch and amylase forms a cloudy solution. Now, for 7 and 8, okay, I started with amylase, which is a cloudy solution. I've heated them in the water bath for 3 minutes, and it gives us a clear solution now. It's not cloudy anymore. So it starts slightly cloudy and turns clear. All right, so for the third column in your table, we're going to look at the color that's when the indicator is added. All right, and the indicator is underlined in the first column. So to test tube number 5, we're going to add iodine, which starts off again as a yellow-brown solution. Okay, we would expect when iodine's added to starch that we would get a blue-black color. But as you can see, there's no blue-black color there. It remains yellow, indicating that starch has been changed somehow by the salivary amylase. Test tube 6, our starch and amylase, which has sat for a few minutes. We're going to add Benedict solution to this. Benedict's is a light blue solution. In order to figure out the indicator color, we're going to have to heat that in the hot water bath for a few minutes. We'll get him started and we'll go on to test tube number 7. Okay, so to test tube 7, we're going to add some iodine. And when we add the iodine, we see we get a blue-black color complex, indicating that the starch that we added to it was not broken down by the denatured salivary amylase. Test tube 8, we added starch, waited 20 minutes, and now we're going to add some Benedict solution. And we're going to put it in our hot water bath to see what results we have there. Okay, we're back now after heating the test tube number 8, and we can see that we had no color change. Okay, so we have a negative result for sugar, simple sugars, meaning that the denatured salivary amylase did not break down the starch because it was denatured, and therefore the starch remained in its long chain form and did not react with the Benedicts to give us a positive result. Okay, so that concludes the procedures. The results, we'll just go through the results quickly one more time. Was there starch digestion in the first one? Test tube 5, indeed there was. You can say yes to that column. Was there starch digestion in test tube 6? Absolutely, there was starch digestion. forming simple sugars. Was there starch digestion in test tube 7? No, there was no starch digestion in test tube 7. We had a blue-black complex indicating starch. That was not digested. Test tube 8, starch digestion is no. There was no starch digestion there because no simple sugars were produced by the denatured salivary amylase. Okay, so for your reason for the digestion result, starch and amylase were present in 5 and 6. Starch and denatured amylase were present in 7 and 8. Okay, that concludes today's lab. I'd like to thank you all for showing up and taking part. Please make sure you've completed your tables and answered the questions, and put your lab in the Dropbox when you're done. Thank you.